So all these YouTubers have one thing in common. They're all using one secret tool to create their thumbnails and bring in millions upon millions of views. Now, I'm sure you thought their thumbnails were created by an expensive graphic designer, right? But in reality, all of these creators have used something that has never been seen before. An AI tool that can create perfect thumbnails in just 30 seconds without compromising on quality in any way. Now, I've already explained my strategy to create viral videos before, but I've never shown you the most important part of succeeding on YouTube: thumbnails and titles. So in this video, I'm going to show you everything that goes into both of them, and it's a full course for free on how you too can create thumbnails using a single AI tool that only costs $1. And this means you don't have to ever hire a designer again that's going to charge you $100 a thumbnail. You're going to be able to do it all yourself in just a matter of seconds. So this channel, for example, used this prompt to generate their thumbnail that ended up getting 3.1 million views. Crazy, right? To cut to the chase, the tool is called Pixels. It uses AI to ideate and create literally any style of thumbnail that you can think of. Object thumbnails, action thumbnails, 3-panel thumbnails, basically every style there is, but more on that later. About a year ago, Iman Gadzi posted a video that got almost 7 million views and made him over $1 million. So let's say I wanted to recreate a similar thumbnail for one of my videos. Pixels can do just that. If you want to follow along, by the way, click the first link in the description to get access for a single $1. So you guys know I usually only recommend free tools, but for this one, I've decided to make an exception since it's so good. And it's literally the first and only thumbnail generator that actually works. You can find the link below the video if you want to log into the website before I move on. So let's actually move on to recreating the thumbnail. So start off by copying the link of the video and then heading back over to the Pixels website, okay? You can then click on Recreate. This feature will allow you to recreate already viral thumbnails with your own touch to it. So just paste in the video link into this box so that Pixels knows which thumbnail to recreate. Next, you have to decide how much you want it to look like the original by picking an inspiration weight, as they call it. If you choose high, it'll look very similar. And if you choose low, you'll give Pixels more creative freedom. It's pretty straightforward. You can even enter a prompt if you want to make any specific changes to it. For example, changing the person in the image to yourself. To do that, I'll write something like, change the person in the image to a blonde man in his 20s. Then just hit generate, and as you can see, it did exactly what I asked for. I got the thumbnail with the same text and background while changing only the person. A thumbnail like this would cost you at least $50 if you hired a freelancer to do it, and it's not even worth trying to do yourself because I'm pretty sure it'd turn out like this. Now, I actually tried generating it 3 times, one with each inspiration weight from low to high, and the difference in the results are pretty significant, especially on the first one. Personally, I'd say the middle one turned out the best, but it just goes to show you that you can play around with it to fit what you're after. And I also want to make it clear that these are unique thumbnails and you don't have to worry about getting copyright striked when using this feature. It might feel like you're copying, but if you put them side by side, you'll see that each and every detail is unique. The truth is, you're actually more likely to succeed using a tool like this, since it's so easy to just copy a thumbnail format that is proven to work well. And that Iman, for example, has put thousands of dollars into researching and creating. Anyways, enough of the recreate feature. I want to show you quickly how you can use this tool to create a thumbnail from scratch, using only a single prompt and idea if you want to be more creative. To get the most out of this video, once again, it's best if you're following along. So once you're on the website, you'll see this big text box. Now how it works is that once you enter a prompt here, Pixels will turn it into a thumbnail. Pretty simple, right? In order to show what prompt to put in, however, we of course need a video idea. This is why it's important to follow along the entire process, because if you enter a bad prompt, you'll most likely get a bad result. So to make it easy, let's start with taking inspiration from this Mr. Beast video that got almost 400 million views as an example. Basically, we want to create an image of a guy standing in front of a mansion and a Lamborghini. To get a similar result, you could write something like, create a thumbnail of a man in his 20s with brown hair standing in front of a Lamborghini and a luxury mansion filled with gold details in the middle of the day. You simply enter it, click on generate, and Pixels will generate the thumbnail. It ended up creating this, and as you can see, it looks very similar to the one that we tried to recreate. Pixels included all the things we asked for: a young guy, guy, a Lamborghini, and a mansion with gold details. However, I think we can make it look even better. I feel like the guy doesn't even look very natural. It's almost like he's pasted into the image. Now this is mostly due to our prompt not being detailed enough. In a case like this, where you have a thumbnail that looks good but you want to change some smaller things, there's a redo feature. It'll use the same prompt as before and generate it again, but this time giving you a different and hopefully better result. So just click on this little button under the image that says redo and wait a few seconds for it to be generated. So here's the new result, which I personally think turned out a lot better than the first one. The person in this image is better integrated, the lighting is better, and the background looks a lot more natural. If we now compare it to Mr. Beast's thumbnail, we're getting somewhere. But there's still a few details missing. He's looking too serious, and he's not wearing a tie like the original thumbnail. For this, we can't use the redo function because the changes are way too specific, and it's just going to recreate the entire thumbnail. However, there is actually another feature that lets you change specific details, kind of like an editor. Now, if you look at these buttons under the image, you'll see one that says Edit. And if you click on it, you can type out the changes that you want to have made to the image. So in this case, I'll write something like, make the guy smile and add a tie to his outfit. Again, hit generate and it'll keep the image the exact same and only apply the changes that you asked for. The house and the car are pretty much the exact same, but the guy smiles and is now wearing a tie. Just to show you how accurate pixels can be, in the original Mr. Beast thumbnail, he's wearing a black-red, but in our thumbnail, the tie is black. So to fix this, we can use the same edit feature again and enter a prompt that says, can you make the tie red instead of black? Pixels will keep everything the exact same, changing the color of only the tie. If you'd ask me, I'd say our thumbnail already looks better than Mr. Beast's. The only thing I think is missing is that it's not Mr. Beast himself in the image. So a few years ago, this would be a job for a professional designer, but with the face swap feature, you can add any person's face to any image. So to use it, you first need an image of the person that you want to swap faces with. By the way, before I do this is just an example. So for you all watching as well, do not use famous people in your thumbnails unless you have permission. Anyway, so I went on Google and found a random image of Mr. Beast that I want to use for the face swap. Then go back to Pixels and click on this button to the right. Upload the image here and hit generate. So as you can see, it'll then take the face in this and swap it with the one that was already in the image. Off topic, I don't think Mr. Beast has ever looked this good, so I'm pretty sure Pixels enhances your looks in some way. If we compare the two of them, I honestly think we got a better thumbnail than the original. But as good old Thomas Edison said,
there's a way to do it better, you just gotta find it.
What we mean here is that you should always look for ways to optimize your thumbnail even further. So I did some thinking on how we could add a new element to it and make it have an even higher click-through rate. Something I've used in my thumbnails that always seems to be bringing in good results is text, especially if it's a large dollar amount. For some reason, people just love it. For those of you that have used AI image generators before, you probably know that they suck at generating images with text. It usually just ends up with an unreadable mess, because AI isn't quite at that point yet where it understands text and images. But this is where Pixels is clearly ahead of all other AI tools, because with some prompting knowledge, you can get Pixels to add accurate text to your thumbnails. Let's say we want to add text, right? Saying $1 million house in big, bold, yellow font. I could use a similar prompt to the one we used before, but then at the end add a text box in the top saying $1 million house in big, bright, bold yellow font. Hit the generate button and it'll create the same image, but this time with the text that we asked for. Considering I've been interested in AI automation for a couple of years now, this is actually crazy. Now, the reason why you'd want to add text to it is because it can be used as a visual hook to get the viewer to click on your video. A great example of using text to your advantage is this channel that created a video about a gang of TikTokers who lied about their height. He literally just used an image of these TikTokers and then added 3 text boxes with their supposed height. Now, if you're from the US, you know that these are absolutely ridiculous heights. Someone being 7'10" is absolutely insane, because that's about 2.5 meters. But even though it's ridiculous, it's gonna get the viewer's attention because they're gonna think,
Wait, what? There's no way he's 7'10", I gotta check this shit out.
And just like that, they clicked on the video. Imagine this thumbnail without the text. It would absolutely suck. Just a bunch of random people. No one would click on it. But when adding the text, it changes everything. Now another example is this one thumbnail I created a few days ago. Since Elon Musk is getting absolutely cooked in the media right now, I thought I'd play on that narrative. So I went with this prompt, and I went ahead and entered it in pixels. Create a thumbnail of Elon Musk, but make him look super evil, like he's the devil himself, and a text box at the top saying, evil. Oh, and writing the text in quotation marks is gonna help you get extra accuracy. And YouTube, before I show this, it's all fake. It's AI, please don't hurt me. Anyways, it gave me this result. ABC is probably gonna hit me up and want to use it as their magazine's cover image. Before I move on to show you guys some more features and how Pixels can also create top-performing titles for your videos, I just want to take 30 seconds to encourage you to check out my community. Now, I'm not going to talk about it too much, but to keep it very short, we're over 32,000 members as of recording this video, and some people have literally changed their lives by joining and taking part in the free coaching calls that we host. If you want to join for free, the link is in the description. But let's move on. So I spent tens of hours experimenting with Pixels, and I found a few very important things that you have to keep in mind to get the best results. I thought I'd share them while creating a thumbnail myself. A few days ago, I saw this video from a guy called Eric, where he broke into the Super Bowl. It, of course, went viral. What I found interesting about it, though, was the thumbnail. Because in the video itself, Eric doesn't even get into the arena, and he's definitely getting escorted out of it by 2 police officers, which makes me realize he created this video with AI, most likely Pixels, since it's the only good thumbnail tool out there. So to prove it, I'm gonna recreate his exact thumbnail. But listen carefully, because what I'm about to say will determine if you get super shitty results or actual thumbnails you can use for your channel. Probably the most important piece of advice is to give Pixels enough information to work with, so you gotta be specific. Make sure you describe the key elements in the image in detail. Try to visualize the result you want and write it all down as clearly as you can. To recreate Eric's thumbnail, I could use a prompt that looks something like this. Create a thumbnail of a guy being arrested by 2 police officers inside the Super Bowl arena. There are 2 police officers, each of them holding 1 arm each on the guy who is being arrested. The police officers are wearing a black uniform, and the guy who is being arrested is wearing a beige t-shirt. The police officers have black skin and short curly hair. The guy who is being arrested is white with brown fluffy hair. In the background, you can see the Super Bowl football field and a huge crowd of people. After generating it a couple of times, I ended up with this thumbnail that turned out really good. I know this prompt might seem like a lot at first, but let me break it down for you. A good prompt needs to include 3 different elements that I like to call PLE: people, location, and emotions. In the beginning, we give them an in-depth description of the people in the image and what they look like. Then you describe the location and what the environment looks like. Lastly, finish it off by describing the emotions, what people in the image are feeling at that moment. By feeding the AI with this many details, it's so much easier to get the result that you want. So on the flip side of the coin, now let's say we use the vague prompt without any details. For example, a guy getting arrested in a football field. This is the result I ended up with. I don't even have to explain. I think you understand which one is going to perform better. Now, the last tip. As you've probably already noticed by now, I'm a big believer in proven concepts. Don't try to come up with a revolutionary idea. Instead, just do what's already working for other people. And this is exactly why I mentioned the recreate feature at the start, because it's the best and cheapest way to make your thumbnails. This is something that the top creators are literally doing all the time. In my other videos, I always talk about sticking with proven concepts that you already know are working. Now, I'm not saying this for no reason. It's because all of the biggest channels are doing it, and it works. For example, a couple of years ago, a guy named Ryan Trahan started a series that blew up all over YouTube, where he was trying to survive on 1 cent for 30 days. The video ended up getting tens of millions of views, and it became one of the most successful series in YouTube history. So shortly after it became a success, we started seeing channels all over YouTube creating videos with the exact same concept. This guy survived on a skyblock, this one on fast food, and this guy survived on kindness from strangers. Now, what did they all have in common? they all went viral. So don't be afraid to take inspiration from channels that are already doing well. So let's say you finally have a really good thumbnail that you've generated. Now, if you remember what I said in the beginning, that's only one of the 2 parts that goes into getting people to click on your video. When the viewer sees your video on their homepage, they'll most likely look at your thumbnail first and then the title. The title kind of works like a call to action to the thumbnail, and it needs to be spot on for your videos to go viral. Now, coming up with good titles yourself is really hard, since there's so many things that you can write. And if you have no experience, I can definitely guarantee that your titles are lacking structure, and that can harm your video more than you think. But that's where, once again, Pixels comes in and saves the day, because they recently released a brand new feature that lets you generate titles to match your thumbnails in just a single click. Let's just use the air rack thumbnail that we recreated earlier, the one where he broke into the Super Bowl. I now want to create a title for that video. To do this, you want to click on this button to the right that says Title. And just like you did before, you need to enter a prompt where you tell Pixels what you want it to do. It's really straightforward. Just describe your video idea and ask it to generate an engaging title for it. For this example, I'll write a title for my new video where I break into the 2025 Super Bowl. Make sure the title is engaging and interesting so that it makes the viewer want to click on the video. Hit generate and Pixels will give you 3 title alternatives to choose. Now, if you want to make any changes to it, click on the 3 dots to the right and you can edit it however you want. For example, making it longer or shorter or reverbing it. After trying this tool out, I'd say there's no question that you'll have an edge on all your competitors if you're using Pixels. Even if your video underperforms, you can generate infinite new thumbnails and titles for barely any money. Trying to design crappy thumbnails yourself in Canva is just not going to cut it. You need high-quality thumbnails that people are actually going to click on. With this option, you don't need any designing skills or have a large budget for outsourcing. As I mentioned earlier, there's this one-time offer that's not going to be around for long. So if you feel like this is something for you, now is the time. You can even resell the thumbnails that you create with Pixels for a 10 times multiple. Let me explain. Right now, the thumbnail freelancer market is huge, right? Some people on websites like Fiverr and Upwork are making crazy amounts of money creating thumbnails for other creators. The problem for these professional designers, though, is that they have to create each thumbnail manually, which takes a lot of time. But since you now know how to use Pixels, you'd for real be able to create even higher quality thumbnails and outsell all these professionals by selling your thumbnails for cheaper. Take this guy for example. He charges $50 for a single thumbnail. He has over 12,000 reviews with a 4.9 star rating. And that means he's made over $600,000 from only selling thumbnails. And all he does is create simple thumbnails like these that you can create with Pixels in less than a minute and then charge $50 for. Where I'm getting at with this is that you can turn this into a monetizable skill. YouTube is only getting bigger by the day, and people are always in need of high-quality thumbnails. Businesses like this are good for mainly 2 reasons. First, you don't need to spend any money to get started, just $1 for the Pixel subscription. Then all you gotta do is sign up for an account on freelance websites like Fiverr and Upwork and post a gig. If you're interested on how I'm doing all of this and how I create all these gigs that convert like crazy on these freelancer platforms, let me know in the comments below. Just remember, all of these AI tools open up for the easiest business models ever, and you can either be on the forefront of it or risk getting left behind. And that's about all I had for today. I'll see you in the next one.